Hi. Hello. Hello, everybody or anybody. My name is Jessica Dettmann, and I am the author of this book, a novel called This Has Been Absolutely Lovely. It's out now in bookshops, published by HarperCollins. It's my second novel. You might have read the first one, which began its life looking like this, called How to Be Second Best, and then it moved on to looking like this. They came out a couple of years ago, and my new book, that's the back, that's the front. I'm extremely happy to be here tonight. Better Reading is an amazing community, and I'm honoured to be here to talk to you about the book. Jesus, excuse me. This is Leonard Cohen. He's a liability. You can have one more chance. My book. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. This is my book called This Has Been Absolutely Lovely. It is the story of a woman called Annie Jones, who's in her late 50s, and she is just at the point in her life where she is starting to be free, or at least feel free, of her family responsibilities. She's divorced. Her parents have died after she's looked after them for a really long time, and she has 3 adult children who pretty much seem like they're on their way to look after themselves. Of course, they're not. And when they all gather together for Annie's father's funeral in the family home where she grew up, everybody joins back together. It happens to be at Christmas time, and they all prove to Annie that really, no, they can't stand on their own 2 feet. And it's about what happens to her from there. And to her daughter. So there are 2 protagonists in this book. There's Annie and there's Molly. Molly's 28, a professional dilettante. She, at the point in the book, when the book starts, she's a professional home organizer, but she's a bit tired of it. It was really trendy when she started, and now she's just kind of over it. And she's pregnant, and she's about to have a baby, and she is completely expecting that her mother will do quite a lot of childcare for her, which is at odds with her mum's expectations. So it is, oh, hang on. I'm looking, oh my God, you're all there. I was wondering why there were no comments. I was looking at the private chat. Hi, everybody. Oh, I honestly thought I was here all by myself. Michelle, hi. Thank you for reading it right now. Oh, this is much better. I thought it was a disaster. Beck, hello. Thanks for coming over from Instagram. I hope you like it. Thank you. Yes, he is gorgeous, isn't he, Tracy? Tracy, you might have seen him on other Zooms in this family. You tried to buy it in Big W, Joybell. Also, your name is beautiful. That is such a nice name. And you'll try again next week. Thank you. Thank you for going back. Mask up. I don't know where you are, but if you've got a Big W, it's probably Maskland. Laura, oh, yeah, that'd be great. Do it for book club. It's a perfect book club book. And yeah, it'll be really good. Alison, thank you. It sounds great. Yes, great cat. Joy Belly's a bit of a pain. Jane, hello. Meredith, I'm going backwards, aren't I? I should go the other way. I'll start at the bottom. Bob, what will be for you in 2021? Terry, oh, you're Terry. Bob and Terry, you're Terry. I hope you like this book. Have you noticed I'm holding my cat like his book? That's what I'm here to show you. Not really that, sorry. Meredith, thank you for putting my book on your must-read list. Hello, Vanessa. Yes, hello, this is Lenny. He's a nightmare, but he likes people and showing off. I don't know where he gets that from. Now, am I reading your comments in the right order? Tracy, it's in your book club for February. I started early, thank you. It's probably not going to take you till early February to read it, I hope, unless you really struggle, find it a bit boring. I don't think you will. It's pretty fun. Deborah, hi, from Somerville, Victoria. Yeah, I think it would be a really good read for your book club. I don't know what age the people in your book club are, but there's every chance that they're women. They're going to like this, I think. Karen, am I related to Joy Dettmann? I'm not, but you've given her 2 N's when you spelt her name, which is what I have. She has 1 N. So we sit side by side on bookshelves, but no, we're not related. Probably one day a 3N Dettmann is just going to come and storm the literary scene and no one will remember Joy or me. Who else? We got Caitlin, hello. Thank you for adding my book to your wish list. Jane Tara, thank you for loving my book. What was the inspiration behind it? Okay, there were a few weird things that converged to inspire this book. The first, hang on, I'm going to get it off my notice board, is this picture of ABBA. And I don't know if you can see, oh, this is a bit weird. There you go. I think this just was the most inspiring picture to me because it is a picture of someone being utterly left out. If you look at blonde one, Henrietta, is that it? Yes. It's just such a great photo, and that inspired the band that Annie is a part of, or Annie was a part of in this book. She was almost in Eurovision, Annie Jones, my character, and she was in a band called Love Triangle, and she was part of the Love Triangle, and then the triangle shifted. So that vibe was inspired by this picture. And I also wanted to think about what it would be like if you had almost had huge success in something you were passionate about. And for Annie, it's songwriting and performing. And then you put it on the back burner, and back burners go out if they're not tended to. I don't know if that metaphor works. But for Annie, she's left it for a really, really, really long time and wants to consider what happens now. I hope that answered your question. Great. Thank you, Sally. Rebecca, thank you. Monica, yeah, no, not related to the other Dettmann author. She's a 1N Dettmann, I'm a 2. Doesn't make me better. You know, I'll leave that to you. No, her books are great and we sit near each other on the bookshelves. Maya, hello, thank you. Yeah, Maya's read it, and yeah, it does appeal, I think, to women of all ages and men, to be honest, because there's a lot for everybody in this book. There are 2 protagonists of very different ages and in different stages of their lives, and expecting a lot of each other, which I think we all do. What have I done now? Melissa, you saw me at a cafe recently, but you didn't want to be a weirdo and come up to me. What cafe was it? Where was I? I don't remember being in a cafe unless it was on the South Coast. Was it? Can you let me know? Michelle, you're 58. You are exactly the same age as Annie. I would be really interested to know how this character resonates with you, because for me, one of my characters is 28, one's 58. I am 41. I'm 41 and 3/4, and I feel much closer to Annie in my life stage than I do to Molly, who's the younger woman. What does my, oh, hang on, I feel like I've missed some things. Vanessa said, oh, people love ABBA. Yes, they're the best. I went to the ABBA museum with my best friend when I went to Sweden a few years ago. It was honestly one of the best days of my life. It's so good. Remember travel. Where do I live? I live in Sydney. I live on the Lower North Shore. We call it the Low No Show to make it sound a bit more straight, and it doesn't make any difference. That doesn't make it cool. What else? How about I stop saying or I could do it more. Massive Eurovision fan. Love that vibe is included. How did you go about researching an authentic voice for an older woman with adult children, and how did she change and evolve as I wrote and then edited the novel from my original thoughts? Natasha, those are really good questions. Annie didn't really change. Annie emerged fully formed. I found it much, much harder to get my head around writing Molly, to be honest. I feel like I had a place for Molly in the book that I needed her to fit, and I had character traits she needed to have, and that all did not add up to a particularly nice person. So that was harder for me to get my head around building that character, whereas Annie comes from what I think I would have done, what would have happened to me if I hadn't started writing fiction 4 years ago, which I'd never written any fiction. I was a book editor. I worked for Random House and then for HarperCollins, who are now my publishers. Thank you, HarperCollins. And writing was something I wanted to do, but really on a deep down level that I didn't want to admit to anybody, let alone myself. And I feel like Annie is an exploration for me of what it would be like to have suppressed that for a really long time, for even longer than I actually did. Because, you know, it took me till I was in my late 30s to start writing. Okay, I don't think I missed anything there. Are you music? There's strong. Am I musical? Alice says, are you musical? Have you ever been in a band? I'm a bit musical. I sing. I really like singing. I can't really read music. I don't know the terms. You know, I did a bit of music at school, but none of it stuck with me, and I can't play an instrument, although I did learn the trumpet for a little while. It was a bit hard. I had braces at the time. It was basically just a face bloodbath. It was horrible. But no, I was in the concert band playing the trumpet. That was great. No one liked that. But then I did join a band briefly in my late 20s when I had like a 27-year-old crisis and moved to America briefly, really briefly. And I started a master's degree there, and I joined a band. And I was the singer in the band, and everyone in the band was really, really talented. They were kind of folk musicians, and I just went along and started hanging out with them one night and singing, and they let me be in their band. And we were called Barn 4 because the campus where I was studying was in the mountains in Vermont, and we rehearsed in a barn in a classroom, and the classroom was called Barn 4, and that's what we called ourselves. There were not 4 of us in the band. There were between 5 and 6 at any one time. So, but I've never written a song, and Annie is a songwriter, and that's something I didn't really know about. But the more I thought about it, the more I figured it was probably quite similar to writing anything. You know, there are themes and bits you repeat, and you don't know if you're being original. That's something that's kind of a theme in the book for Annie, is never knowing if something she's written is something she actually wrote or if it's a song she's heard somewhere before, because she's 58, she's heard a lot of songs. And yeah, she doubts herself when she starts writing music again about whether she's like, oh, is that my song? And at one point, one of her daughters, Naomi, says to her, are you sure you wrote that new song? Because I feel like I've heard that song before. And Annie has to really consider that. And what she comes up with is the idea that really good songs sound like something that you've heard before, maybe. They just sit with you and they already feel like a real song in your soul. You know, really good songs. They hit you and they feel like you've always known them and you've always heard them. So that's where Annie goes with that. How many Eurovision eps did you watch for inspiration, Vanessa? I didn't watch any, but I did watch the YouTube clip of Bucks Fizz singing Making Your Mind Up a lot of times, and I listened to it a lot of times, so much that my Spotify best of 2019 was heavily skewed towards really shit music. I liked it. I love it, in fact. No shame. What have I missed? Michelle says, thank you, you write really well. Thank you. We've talked, oh gosh, I'm not going very fast, am I? That is so cool. I was in a band. Yeah, it was really cool. It was not a cool band. It was full of people doing an English master's degree. We were not cool, but we were good. Tracy, yeah, I can sing, Tracy. We've got to go to karaoke when the world stops ending. Who else have we got there? Lynn, sorry, I haven't read any of your books. How many have you written? I've written 2, Lynn. I've written this one, the new one. This has been absolutely lovely. And I've written this one, the old one, which, that's the back, comes in 2 sizes. The original format was this one, How to Be Second Best. And then it turned into that one, which is the nice spilt milk cover. I love both those covers. Oh, thank you. Thank you for loving my earrings, Jane. They're from Lavisa, that really cheap shop where not good quality, but fun. Bucks Fizz, you're really looking forward to seeing where Annie goes with. She lets mother guilt drive her to letting go of her dreams again. Because that's a big issue in this book, is mother guilt and how much of yourself you have to give up to be a mother, to be a good mother. And that's something that all the mothers in this book struggle with. And it's not just Annie and it's not just Molly. There are a bunch of other mothers in this book who are faced with that question. which I find really interesting. I get a lot of mother guilt, probably not for very good reason, sometimes for very good reason. But yeah, I feel like it's a fairly universal theme, and I was really interested to explore it. How did I get toggles? How did I get toggles? Anna, are you talking about the dog? There's a dog called Toggles, isn't it? Can you confirm that that's what you're talking about for me? Do you mean how did I come up with the dog's name Toggles? I can't remember exactly. Thank you for looking for my first book, Tracy. Was I happy with the cover? Yeah, I really love this cover. It's beautiful. I don't know if you can see behind me the colours in the artwork behind me by a beautiful artist called Emily Besser. But that's been on my desk the whole way through the writing period. I've moved it behind me tonight, actually, because there's a hole in the wall behind it, and I didn't want you to see. But yeah, the colours that Hazel Lamb, who is the cover designer at HarperCollins, who's worked on both my books, came up with is just beautiful. And I don't know how many cover roughs they did before they showed me this. This is the only one I saw, and it was pretty much perfect. Yeah, getting yourself stuck in a jumper, it's a fairly universal symbol of mayhem and confusion and being a bit lost. And I thought that expressed it really well. And I don't know how Monsteras are pretty trendy at the moment, so we've got one of those, which I have behind me. Oh my gosh, this is flipped. So anyway, that's behind me. Did I listen to the audiobook? Oh yes, the dog, Anna. Yeah, the dog. I don't know how I came up with Toggle. I think Toggle's a good name for a dog. It's a great word, and we don't get to say it enough. So I gave it to one of the dogs in the book. Yeah, there's a character in the book who's really obsessed with her dogs to the point that she knows what university they would go to if they weren't dogs. She's a little secondary character in there. You're sick of the mother guilt. Yeah, Michelle, like stuff like that. We don't need it. It's not good for anybody. Thank you, Therese, for saying my book was good and funny. Maya, did I listen to the audiobook of How to Be Second Best? I didn't. I listened to a little section of it that my sister-in-law, the amazing Australian actress Michaela Bannis, recorded. She was the voice for my first audiobook, How to Be Second Best. You might remember her from Upper Middle Bogan and McLeod's Daughters. She's a beautiful, beautiful actress. She has an amazing voice, and she was perfect for the audiobook of that one. So no, I haven't listened to the whole thing. I wrote it. I don't need to listen to it again. That's your job. You have to. Both of my titles are fabulous. How do I come up with titles? That's, do I know it from the beginning, or does it come to me over time? I started both these books with titles very firmly in mind, and I wrote to the title. And then the book veered away from the title. So I'd pick a new title, and then I'd write to that title, and then the book would veer away in that direction. And so I'd pick another title. So basically, these books have had titles the whole way through. They just weren't the same title the whole way through. And I came to the titles that they ended up with very late in the piece. This book was called Leave Everything to Annie for a long time in my head. There's a theme of inheritance in this book and children squabbling over what they are left by their grandfather in a will. So they leave everything to Annie in many senses. They do. Sorry, I sounded like Yoda then. Leave everything to Annie in many senses. They do. Deep breath. Is it going to be an audiobook? I think so. I hope so. I'm not sure it'll be Michaela again. She's a very busy lady. Lots of exciting projects in the works. What do I like to read in my downtime if I have downtime? I like to read all sorts of things. There's a selection behind me. I like fiction. I like commercial fiction. I like literary fiction sometimes, if it's the right sort. I feel like the older I've got, the worse I have become at reading literary fiction, which I'm really deeply ashamed of because it's terrific, apparently, so they say. No, it is. But yes, I'm tired all the time, and it's easier to watch telly or read something a little more easy. So sometimes I don't go for the literary fiction, I go for the commercial fiction. I really like crime as well. I'm a big fan of Tana French, the Irish author, and Dervla McTiernan, another Irish author. I like the Irish. What else have we got here? What did my mum think of Annie? Is her attitude to childcare of her grandchildren similar? It's not really similar, no. And I didn't ever put my mum in the position that Molly puts Annie in. Molly goes into parenthood fully expecting 2 or 3 days a week childcare from her mother. Doesn't make any other plans, doesn't put anything else into place. I didn't do that. I had other plans, by which I mean I stayed home for years and years and went slowly mad and then wrote books. But no, my mother loves looking after her grandchildren, as does Annie. See, this is the thing. Annie doesn't not want to look after her grandchildren. She just doesn't want to be an unpaid nanny and default carer for them, which I think is entirely reasonable. And I am sowing the seeds in my own children, who are 8 and 10, that is probably going to be my take on it. Although, who knows, that may change, especially since there's no travel anymore. What am I going to do when I'm old? Sit around and look after my grandchildren. What did I miss? There was a question about travel, but I think I missed that. Where do I like to travel? I love traveling anywhere. I'm a bit of a panic merchant about everything, so I freak out and overplan and then expect too much, and it's a lot. But no, I really do love traveling. I find traveling with little kids pretty stressful. We have a really, really bad track record of people getting sick when we travel. But, no one travels anymore now, so moot point. What do I read that one? I read that one. Question Toggle is a great name for a dog, thank you. Next book, if you have a dog, I will lend you my 13-year-old lab's name, which is Mr. Turlo. That is a splendid name, Meredith. Mr. Turlo. Do you shout that in the street? Do you sound like you're looking for, an escaped cobbler? That's what Mr. Turlo sounds like. Where can we buy your books? Cassie, you can buy my books in all good bookshops. You can buy them in Big W. You can buy them in Target. I'm not sure about Kmart. You can buy them online from Booktopia or Amazon if you must. But independent bookshops, that's where you should buy them if you can, please, because they're having a really hard time. I would love it if you bought my book at an indie. Do I have any plans for book 3? I do. I do have some plans for book 3. They are not super concrete. They are perhaps not as concrete as I have made out they are to my agent. No, that's not true. I've got a plan. I hope it's going to happen. Any other questions? Have I missed anything? Let me go back. What do I like reading? Yeah, I like books by women, but I really like books by men too. Not that many of them, mostly the men that write like women. I like Nick Hornby books a lot. He's one of my favorites. And what did I do before writing? Rebecca, I was a book editor at Random House and at HarperCollins briefly, and freelance. So I got to work on a lot of books, most of which I have forgotten, weirdly. People ask me who I edited and I can't remember. Lots of interesting people, lots of interesting books, and it really taught me a huge amount about story and structure and just all of the little things that you can do to make a book better easily. And I still didn't do most of them. I still had to have my own amazing editor, Kate O'Donnell, do a lot of stuff for me, pick me up on a lot of things that needed fixing. But yeah, coming at it from an editor's perspective was interesting, and I enjoy both editing and writing greatly. What about you? Bought yours from Big W. Thank you, Mary. Therese Smith loves her independent bookshops too. What's your local indie, Therese? They are more expensive, Joybell. Yeah, it's to do with volumes, I'm afraid. So it's better to just buy books where you can, I reckon. Better than not buying them at all. Thank you for buying them any way you can. I really, truly, greatly appreciate it, and as do all authors. Vanessa, what do you do when you're scouting for new book inspiration? I do what I do all the rest of my life, and that is look on social media. That's all I do. I read social media and I read the news and I think about people and stories, and I look to videos online and I look at movies and books and think about things that have inspired me, and sometimes just a little germ of something will jump into my brain and stick there, and that's what happened with this book, and I think it's what's going to happen with the next book. There's a particular piece of writing that has inspired what I'm going to work on next. I'm not going to say what it is yet, but it's going to be fun. In your new book, asks Kate Jackson, was Molly's experience of motherhood inspired by personal experience? That's a great question, because Molly, and this is going to be a little trigger warning for people who read this book, Molly experiences some mental ill health after the birth of her child. And I did as well. I had 2 babies who did not sleep pretty much ever. And I had postnatal depression, which was treated both times really successfully. So I did well, and I was really well looked after. And I think it's a really common story. So yes, Molly's experience was definitely informed by my own, not her birth. Molly has a pretty exciting birth in the book, which I won't spoil for you, but it was nothing like my birth. I had a very calm birth. I never even cried out once, and that's probably because it was a cesarean and I had, a spinal tap, so I couldn't feel it. That's why I didn't scream. Fuller's Hobart. Oh, Therese, I have heard such great stuff about that. One of my dear friends lives down there, and I've been trying to get down there to visit him and go to Fuller's, but I hear it's an amazing shop. Mary, occasionally I buy from Robinson's Bookshop, as you like bookshops to continue. Yeah, thank you. Borders was good, wasn't it? Oh, someone's opened the door and a cat has run away. You usually buy from Big W. Oh, what's that?
The extra one from Kate.
Oh, thank you. I'll get to this in a second. There are people who aren't on Facebook and they have texted in a couple of questions. Ask her how she thinks her new heroines are different from Emma in How to Be Second Best. Thank you. They are, I don't know, they are, no, I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to get you to read it and then we can talk about it. Come on Instagram and talk to me about how you think they're better or different, or come back on here and comment when you've read the books. That would be great. Sorry, that one really threw me. Where are we? Victoria, hello. How are you going? You got a guest today and you can't wait to start. Great. Do I do much planning before I start writing my novels? No, I do no planning, and I write by the seat of my pants. There's a theory in fiction writing that you are a plotter or you are a pantser, and I am a big fat pantser. I pants it all the way through, and I don't know what's going to happen, and it feels it's a panic-inducing way to write, because there's no planning and you can't sit down every day and go, okay, well, this is my plan and this is the section I'm going to write and here will be the story that I accomplished today. I just sit there and freak out for 9 months and then write it all quite quickly. Intrigued to read more about Molly. Yeah, I think Molly is a little bit frustrating. I think you will probably find, as was Emma in my first book, a lot of people wanted to slap Emma. That was a common reaction. And you might have a little bit of that inclination as well when you learn about Molly. Carla, hi. Thanks for lending me a copy of my own book, Carla. Couldn't find one. Is there any character in the book you wish you had more time to develop or would consider a spin-off about? I don't know. I hadn't thought about that before. There's a German character in this book who she's a little bit peripheral, and I don't think we get into her as much as some of the others, but her name's Diana. I'm pretty interested in Diana. I don't know if that means I will go anywhere with her, but there are 2 characters from this book who show up very briefly in this book, and it's kind of a little Easter egg for people who like the first one. They're in one scene. They're a bit pivotal to the plot, and I might try and do that again. That would be kind of fun, I think. Simon's divorce. That would be a good place to go. Thanks, Michelle. Thank you, Joy Bell. Thank you for joining us. Tracy, yeah, Molly's frustrating. She is, but people are frustrating, you know, but you still have to have them in your life, I guess. Maya, can I share my past publication and any advice for writers hoping to get published? I went around this in a really long, strange way in that I've been involved in publishing since birth. My mother was a book editor, is a book editor. She's not dead, and she's still a book editor. And so she ran her own company when I was a kid and growing up. So I kind of knew the world pretty well. And then I started working straight out of school in a bookshop, which is an excellent, useful thing to do if you're interested in books and writing. And then again worked as a publishing assistant, editorial assistant, then an editor, and then a senior editor. So by then I knew heaps of people in publishing, and that meant that when I went home and had 2 kids and had a little break from working in the office and started writing, I knew lots of people who could help me get my work in front of the people who need to see it to get you published. So that, I don't know, it felt cheaty, felt a bit cheaty, but you know, you have to use the contacts you have. And I don't think you get published unless your work's good enough, but it certainly was helpful to know people in that industry, I'm afraid. So if you want to devote your whole career to working in publishing and then sneak in the side as an author, that's certainly one way of doing it. I don't know if it's the way I would recommend, but you know, publishing is an amazing place to work, and you work with the best people. Yes, Diana could get an extra chapter, like a DVD extra. That's a great idea, Natasha. That's very smart. Tanya, thank you for laughing and crying. Yeah, there's bits that make me cry still when I reread this book. There's some really heart-rending bits. Hang on, somebody has brought me an extra question. Somebody, my husband, from Amy K. Where did you get the inspiration for rats in the tent in the first book? Amy K. There's a camping trip in this book, as some of you will know who've read it, and rats chew through the tent in the night because they've left some food inside. Now, Amy Kersey, you know why that happened. That was you. They were your rats. That was your chocolate. And that was the last time any of us went camping. That was 6 years ago. Emma, as I'm a pantser, does that mean I end up rewriting or cutting out lots of pages? A bit, not really, because I leave everything to the horribly last minute, which is, again, a really torturous way to live. So I guess when it does get done, it's done. I didn't have to chuck out heaps. I did chuck out a big prologue at the beginning of this book because, as many prologues should be, it just needed to be deleted, and it was backstory and it needed to be woven in more seamlessly instead of plonked on the front, like a big dumb plonky thing. That's eloquent, isn't it? By my books, I'm a professional. You are reading my book for a book club, Mary. That is cool. Thank you. I would be very interested to know how many of you are in book clubs and whether you would consider doing this as a book club book. I think it would be a great one. There's a lot to discuss. So I think that looks like about it. Have I missed anything? I feel like I missed one up here about my work day. Where was that? My work day involves way too much social media, a little bit of exercise, and a bit of writing, and then housework, unfortunately. And then every now and then, with both books, I've taken about 2-3 day trips away where I've just gone away and written heaps and heaps each time, and that's the best way I've found to do it. Every time I hope to be more organised and have a better workflow, and so far both times that has not happened, but that doesn't mean it won't. Maybe next time I will be more organised and have a less frantic life and make everyone else's life less horrible. All right, I think that's about it. It's about 8:36 on the rocket clock. Oh, Martina, you missed the camping story. That's a story from this book where a rat chews through a tent on a camping trip because it can smell food in the tent. And that happened to my friends and I on a camping trip a few years ago. It was horrible. It wasn't my tent though. you're in a few book clubs, but they're all online ones. Yeah, I think that's kind of got to be what we do at the moment. Just a bit, sucks a bit. What else do we have there? Rowena Bacchus, how do you do? Thank you for joining me, and thanks for saying they're getting better and better. That's really good to hear. Okay, I think, who would play Annie and Molly in a film? Somebody said Annette Bening for Annie to me today, which I hadn't thought of, but I do like that idea a lot. I don't know, I'm bad at that. Someone else can cast it. I'll let that be their job. I'll just do my job. All right, well, thanks everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for buying my book, this one, and for buying this one, and then this one when it turned into that. I really appreciate it, and I've loved all your questions. And if you have more and you come to this late, stick them on there and I'll check back and answer them for you. All right, good night.